My name is Claire, and a year ago my world shattered in one brutal instant. My husband Marcus and I were driving home from dinner when a truck ran a red light and smashed into our car. He died instantly. I woke up days later in the hospital with broken bones, a damaged spine, and a hole in my heart that no surgery could fix. Marcus and I had been married for 8 years, and though we never had children, we had each other, my best friend, my home, my calm in every storm. Losing him was like being cut in half. For months I was trapped in a wheelchair, too weak to even stand. The doctor said I might never walk again. I spent long nights staring at the ceiling wondering why I survived and he didn't. The house Marcus and I had shared, our dream home, became a mausoleum of silence. That was when my younger sister Payton came to visit me at the hospital. She was 7 years younger than me, full of life and charm. She came with her husband David, both of them looking so concerned, so sympathetic. Claire, Payton said, squeezing my hand, "You can't do everything by yourself right now. We want to move in and help." David nodded like a dutiful husband. "You'll need someone around the house until you recover." I was touched and relieved. I couldn't bear the thought of returning to that empty house alone. So 2 weeks after I was discharged, they moved in. At first, they were perfect. Payton cooked my meals, did my laundry, cleaned the house, and helped me get dressed on my worst days. David fixed the garden fence, painted the living room, and mowed the lawn. I thought I was lucky to have such caring family. But the truth is, my bond with Payton had always been complicated. When our parents died, I was 23, and she was only 16. I became her guardian. I worked 2 jobs, coming home exhausted at 6:00 p.m., just to keep her in school and put food on the table. Every penny I saved went toward her future. I paid for her community college tuition with what little savings I had, money I'd been putting away for a down payment on a house. Later, I even helped pay for her wedding, $15,000. I had to take out a loan and Marcus wasn't happy about it, but I insisted. She was my baby sister. So when Payton and David offered to move in, I didn't question their motives. I told myself they were finally giving back after all the years I had carried them. Months passed. My body grew stronger, my limp less noticeable. Physical therapy was working. I could walk short distances with a cane. I started cooking again, folding my own laundry, reclaiming little pieces of independence. Then one evening over dinner I said, "I've been thinking. I'm doing better now. You two have been so helpful, but I think it's time you moved out and got back to your own lives." The silence was immediate and sharp. David kept chewing like nothing had happened. Peyton's fork froze mid-air. She gave me a thin smile and said, "We'll talk about it." But they never did. 2 weeks later, nothing had changed. Then came the moment that shattered whatever illusion of love I had left. I was sitting in the living room reading when my phone buzzed. It was a voice message from Payton. Without thinking, I pressed play. Her voice came through frustrated, angry, cold. "David, I can't do this anymore," she said. "I can't stand having Claire in this house. She's such a burden. We've already spent so much money on her, money we could have used for ourselves." My heart stopped. "But I found a solution," Payton continued. "There's a home for disabled people. It costs only $1,200 a month. I talked to the administrator and told him Claire has mental problems, that it's dangerous for her to live alone." He agreed. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. But it got worse. "I checked the house documents," she said. "It's in her name, but I found a way to get it transferred to ours. My friend Amanda at the county registrar's office is helping. We can do it without Claire even knowing. Next Tuesday, we'll tell her she has a medical checkup, take her to the home and register her there. By the time she realizes what's happening, she'll already be inside." I could barely breathe. Payton laughed, actually laughed, as she said, "The house is worth $720,000. Once we get it, we can pay off our debts and finally take that Japan trip. I'm so tired of pretending to care about her. God, I always hated Marcus. I'm glad he's dead." Tears streamed down my face. I felt the world tilt. My own sister, the girl I'd raised like a daughter, was plotting to steal my home and lock me away. I sat there until the message ended, too stunned to move. Then something inside me hardened. The next morning before sunrise, I packed my documents, birth certificate, marriage license, house deed, medical records into a bag. Without a word, I called a taxi and left. I didn't look back. The taxi dropped me off near the bank just before it opened at 900 a.m. I sat in a corner coffee shop, clutching my bag of documents, watching people go about their lives like nothing in the world had gone wrong. My hands trembled so badly I could barely hold the cup. The words from Payton's voice message replayed in my mind again and again, each one slicing deeper. By the time the bank doors opened, I felt like I was walking on air, detached, weightless, unreal. Susan, the branch manager, recognized me instantly. She had been the one who handled the mortgage when Marcus and I bought our house years ago. "Claire," she said warmly, "it's good to see you again. How are you holding up?" I forced a smile. "I think someone's been stealing from me." Her expression changed immediately. She led me into her office and closed the door. "Let's take a look." She pulled up my account records and started scrolling. My heart sank as soon as I saw the long list of transfers, small at first, then larger, regular as clockwork. "This isn't possible," I whispered. "I never authorized these." Susan frowned. "It looks like a power of attorney form was submitted months ago." She turned her screen toward me. My own signature glared back. "See, you gave permission for your sister Payton Morrison to manage your accounts." I stared at it in disbelief. "That's not my signature." My voice cracked. "She forged it." Susan's face softened. "Claire, this is serious. You'll need to go to the police." "I will," I said, though I wasn't ready to face that yet. "Can you print everything for me?" She printed the entire paper trail, every withdrawal, every fake signature. I tucked them into my bag and thanked her quietly. But as I turned to leave, my mind was already racing. Payton hadn't done this alone. She had help. Amanda, the friend at the registrar's office. I called a taxi and headed straight there. The county building was a maze of beige hallways and fluorescent lights, the kind of place where everything smelled faintly of old paper and coffee. I told the receptionist I needed to speak to Amanda Richardson, and within minutes, a woman in her 30s with bleached hair and nervous eyes appeared. "Yes," she asked cautiously. "I'm Claire, Peyton's sister." Her expression flickered. "Oh, hi. Could we talk somewhere private?" She hesitated, then nodded, and led me to a small conference room. I closed the door and, without her noticing, turned on the voice recorder on my phone. My voice was calm, too calm. "Payton told me about your plan." Amanda's face drained of color. "What plan?" "The one where you help her declare me mentally incompetent so she can take my house." She shook her head, stammering. "I didn't agree to anything illegal. She just asked me how the process works hypothetically." "So you did discuss it," I said evenly. She twisted her hands. "She said you were sick and confused and she was just trying to protect you. I told her that if she had medical proof of mental incapacity, she could petition for guardianship. That's it. I didn't file anything." "Did she ask you to speed it up?" Amanda's eyes darted toward the door. "Yes. She wanted to know how to get it approved quickly." "And you said you'd help." She said it was urgent. I thought she was helping you." I turned off the recorder. "Thank you for your honesty," I said coldly, standing up. "You might want to get a lawyer." By afternoon, I was sitting in a downtown law office across from a man named Robert Chin, a lawyer recommended by a friend. Robert was calm and methodical, the kind of man who didn't scare easily. I told him everything about the accident, Payton moving in the voice message, the forged documents, Amanda's involvement. When I finished, he leaned back and exhaled. "You've got everything we need," he said. "Fraud, forgery, conspiracy, theft. This isn't just betrayal, it's criminal." I played him Payton's voice message. Hearing it out loud in that sterile office made it feel even more grotesque. Robert's face tightened as Payton's laughter filled the room, the laughter that had once sounded like home to me. "We go to the police," he said when the recording ended. "Will she go to jail?" I asked quietly. "Possibly," he said, "but right now our focus is protecting you." That night, I didn't go home. I checked into a small hotel near the airport, clean, quiet, with floral curtains and a faint smell of soap. I ignored every call from Payton and David. Their texts filled my screen. "Where are you? Please call us. We're worried." The nerve of them made my skin crawl. I turned my phone face down and lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling until dawn. I had loved Payton like my own child, but the woman I'd raised was gone. All that was left was someone who saw me as an obstacle between her and a pile of money. The next morning, Robert met me at the police station with all the evidence neatly organized in a folder. Two detectives, Martinez and Blake, took our statements. They listened carefully as I described what had happened, sometimes stopping me to clarify a date or detail. When I played the voice message, even the detectives exchanged glances. Detective Martinez closed her notebook. "We have enough to act on this immediately." "I want to be there when you confront them," I said. Robert gave me a hesitant look, but Martinez nodded. "All right, we'll arrange it." An hour later, two police cars pulled up outside my house. I sat in the back seat of the lead car, my pulse pounding. Payton's car was in the driveway, bright and smug as always. I took a deep breath. This was it. We entered through the front door. Payton was in the kitchen cutting fruit. She turned startled, then smiled in relief. "Claire." "Oh my God, where have you been? We were so worried." Then she saw the officers behind me. Her smile collapsed. David stepped out of the living room, confusion written across his face. "What's going on?" he asked. I didn't answer. I opened my phone and pressed play. Peyton's own voice filled the air, dripping with contempt, plotting my betrayal. Her face went white. David stared at her, stunned, as the recording spilled every vile detail: the home, the forged papers, the house, even her words about Marcus. When the message ended, silence fell like a blade. "Don't," I said quietly when she opened her mouth. "Don't lie to me anymore." Robert stepped forward, his tone clipped and professional, as he handed a folder to Detective Martinez. "We also have evidence," he said, "that Mrs. Morrison forged a power of attorney to steal funds from her sister's account, roughly $10,000 in total." He laid the forged documents and bank transfers on the counter. Payton stared at the papers as though they might burst into flames. David looked from one face to another, confusion turning to fear. "Wait, what, Payton? What is this?" She shook her head frantically. "It's not true, Claire. Please, this is a misunderstanding. We were just trying to help." Robert's calm voice cut through hers. "We also have a recorded conversation with Amanda Richardson from the county registrar's office, confirming that you asked her to help you fraudulently declare your sister mentally incompetent and transfer her property." Peyton's jaw dropped. You spoke to Amanda?" "I did," I said coldly. "She told me everything." The color drained from Peyton's face. She swayed like she might faint. Detective Martinez took a step forward and said clearly, "Payton Morrison, David Morrison, you're under arrest for fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit theft." Peyton's voice broke into sobs. "Claire, please, I made a mistake. I wasn't thinking straight." David's face hardened. "You dragged me into this," he muttered as the officers turned him around to handcuff him. "Don't lie anymore," I said, my voice shaking. "Not now." The detectives read them their rights. Payton cried the entire time, gasping between words that sounded less like apology and more like panic. The officers led them out to the waiting police car. For a long moment, I stood frozen in my own kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd once believed I had family safety love. Now it felt like a crime scene, the air heavy with betrayal. Robert put a hand on my shoulder. "You did the right thing." "Did I?" I whispered. "It doesn't feel like it." He sighed. "Sometimes justice doesn't feel good, but it's still justice." The weeks that followed blurred into paperwork, statements, and quiet nights alone. I didn't go back to work. I didn't go out. The house felt poisoned. Every corner carried echoes of their laughter, their footsteps, the lies that had filled my home. I slept on the couch because I couldn't bear to go into the guest room where they'd stayed. Robert handled the legal side. He called often with updates, his voice steady, factual, and kind. "The evidence is overwhelming," he told me. "They'll face multiple charges. The DA is confident." Still, the thought of Payton sitting in a cell made my stomach twist. I didn't want revenge. Not really. I wanted my sister back. But that woman was gone, replaced by someone who had looked me in the eye and pretended to love me while plotting to ruin me. 3 months passed before the trial date was set. In that time, Payton and David remained in custody. Amanda was charged too, though she quickly confessed and agreed to cooperate. Reporters called it the Morrison family fraud case. Seeing my name in the headlines made my skin crawl. The night before the trial, Robert called again. "Claire, there's been a development," he said. "They want to make a deal." I was silent for a moment. What kind of deal? "They're willing to plead guilty to all charges in exchange for suspended sentences, 6 months probation each, no jail time. They'll have to repay the stolen funds, plus $20,000 in restitution. I closed my eyes so they walk free. Technically, yes, Robert said. But they'll have criminal records, they'll lose their jobs, they'll be watched closely. If they so much as jaywalk, they'll serve the full term in prison. I sat quietly listening to the hum of my refrigerator. Will it stop them from ever trying something like this again? It should, he said gently. They'll lose everything that made this worth it to them. I thought about all the years I'd spent caring for Payton, the sacrifices, the sleepless nights, the money I'd poured into her future. I thought about Marcus, who used to tell me, you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Maybe this was the only way to finally learn that lesson. Tell them I accept, I said. Robert hesitated. Are you sure? Yes, I'm done carrying this. The plea deal went through the next morning. Payton and David stood before the judge and admitted everything: the forged documents, the plan to steal my house, the lies. They both cried. Amanda did too, but I felt nothing as I listened. The judge's voice was firm, but not cruel. 6 months probation. Restitution of $30,000 to me. Case closed. When it was over, I walked out of the courthouse into the crisp autumn air. The city felt alive: buses rumbling, people laughing, the smell of roasted coffee drifting from the cafe across the street. I should have felt free, but what I felt was empty. Over the next few weeks, the story spread. Everyone in town knew. Friends whispered behind Payton's back. David lost his job first. Payton followed soon after. Amanda was fired from her government position. Their reputations were ruined. They became outcasts overnight. But me, I didn't want to live in that house anymore. Not another minute. I sold it quickly for nearly the full market price, $715,000. I paid off my debts and used the rest to buy a smaller apartment in a new building designed for people with disabilities. It was bright, quiet, and safe. There was a clinic next door for therapy and a gym where I could keep rebuilding my strength. The first night there, I sat by the window watching city lights blur against the glass. For the first time since the accident, I felt something close to peace. Life in the new apartment began slowly, like learning how to breathe again. Each morning I woke up to sunlight spilling across the pale curtains, instead of the shadows that used to haunt my old home. I made coffee, did my stretches, and looked out over the quiet courtyard below. It wasn't much, but it was mine, a space untouched by deceit, free from the ghosts of the past. My physical therapy sessions became my new routine. The clinic next door had a therapist named Jenna, a gentlewoman in her 50s who understood not just physical pain, but emotional scars too. She never pried, but somehow she knew when my silences weren't about my legs. She taught me to trust my body again, to believe that strength could return even after the world had collapsed. Over time, I stopped using the cane except on my worst days. I painted in the afternoons, something I'd picked up during recovery as a way to quiet my thoughts. My first pieces were shaky, full of gray skies and stormy seas, but as the weeks went on, color found its way back into them: soft greens, gold sunsets, the reflection of light on water. They weren't masterpieces, but they were pieces of me, bits of healing spread across the canvas. The community center near the complex hosted workshops for people rebuilding their lives after injury or loss. I began volunteering there twice a week, helping others adapt to their new realities. Some were missing limbs, some had lost their sight, some, like me, had lost people they loved. It felt good to give again, not out of obligation like I had with Payton, but out of empathy. These people didn't take from me. They gave back without even realizing it. Months passed in quiet stability. I didn't hear from Payton or David. I didn't expect to. I thought the silence would last forever until one chilly Tuesday afternoon, 6 months after the trial ended. I was sitting at a small cafe near my apartment reading a novel when I saw her. Payton stood near the entrance, her eyes locking on mine before she could turn away. For a heartbeat, I thought I was imagining her. She looked thinner, pale, worn down in a way I'd never seen. Her hair was shorter, her posture smaller. The confident woman who once strutted through my kitchen now looked like a ghost of herself. She walked over her steps, hesitant. "Claire," she said softly, "can I sit down?" I didn't answer. She took the chair across from me anyway, her hands trembling as she folded them together on the table. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The only sounds were the clinking of cups and the low hum of conversation around us. I saw you through the window, she began finally. I wasn't following you or anything, I just saw you, and I thought maybe it was a sign. I said nothing. I wanted to say I'm sorry, she continued, her voice cracking. I know it doesn't change anything, but I needed to tell you. I watched her searching for the sister I once knew, but all I saw was regret carved into a tired face. I've lost everything, she said. David and I both lost our jobs. No one wants to hire us. Our friends won't even speak to us. We had to move 2 hours away just to escape the whispers. I work at a gas station now and he's at a warehouse. We can barely pay rent. Her eyes filled with tears. I know I deserve it, but it's so hard. I stirred my tea, slowly waiting. I think about what I did every single day, Payton went on, about how you raised me after Mom and Dad died, how you worked 2 jobs, paid for my school, my wedding, everything. You were the only person who ever loved me unconditionally, and I repaid you by betraying you. I was greedy, I was angry, I said horrible things about you and Marcus that I can never take back. Her words hung between us. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said. I just needed you to know I'm sorry, truly sorry. I put my cup down, my hand steady for once. Do you remember what you said in that voice message, I asked, about Marcus? She winced. Yes. You said you always hated him. You said you were glad he was dead. Tears slid down her cheeks. I didn't mean it, Claire. I was angry and jealous. I thought he took you away from me. You were right, I said quietly. He did take me away from the person who couldn't stand to see me happy. She looked down at her lap, sobbing silently. I let her cry. For years I'd cleaned up her messes, soothed her tears, protected her from consequences. But not this time. The worst part isn't what you did to me, I said after a long silence. It's that you could do it after everything I gave up for you. I sacrificed my life to make yours better, and you would have thrown me away for money. You couldn't even wait 1 more year until I was fully recovered. I know, she whispered, and I hate myself for it. I stood up, grabbing my cane, though I barely needed it. I forgive you, I said. She looked up, startled hope flickering across her tear-streaked face. But I won't forget, I continued. And I don't want you in my life anymore. I forgive you for me, not for you. Claire, please. I mean it. You made your choices. Now live with them. I walked out of the cafe. Behind me I heard her crying, but I didn't look back. That was 6 months ago. I never saw her again. I don't know where she is or what became of her. Maybe she and David are still together. Maybe they're not. It doesn't matter. My life has moved forward. I'm walking without my cane most days now, and the pain that once ruled me has turned into something quieter, like an old scar that aches in the rain, but no longer bleeds. The community center feels like home. I've made friends there, people who know what it means to lose everything and still choose to rebuild. Together we share small victories, a longer walk, a full night's sleep, a laugh after a dark day. We call ourselves the comeback crew. Sometimes I catch myself smiling for no reason. The grief for Marcus is still there, but it no longer chains me. It reminds me I once loved deeply, and that love, even when lost, can shape who we become. I paint more now, brighter scenes, hopeful ones. Last month I sold a few pieces at a local art fair. Just enough to make me proud, not rich. But pride feels richer than any dollar amount ever could. As for family, I've learned it doesn't always come from blood. Sometimes it's the people who choose to show up and stay not because they owe you, but because they care. If my story means anything, it's this: sometimes losing the ones who betray you is the only way to find yourself again. If you are moved by this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more real-life stories that remind us of the strength we can find after heartbreak. Tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Claire's place?